In 1845, two ships, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, under the command of Sir John Franklin, set sail from England in search of the fabled Northwest Passage, a sea route that could revolutionize global trade. They carried with them a wealth of supplies to last years and the finest naval technology of their time. Franklin's expedition was poised to solve one of the great mysteries of the age, but instead, it became one of history's most haunting enigmas. Years passed without word until whispers of cannibalism, frozen corpses, and abandoned ships started to emerge from the Arctic wilderness. What happened to Franklin's men on that doomed journey? Why did they vanish, never to return, despite their preparation and skill? This terror story of Franklin's lost expedition is more than just a tale of survival gone wrong. It's a mystery that captivated the world for over a century and a half, and that refuses to fully reveal its secrets. This is the Dark History Project. Before we get started, please take a moment to subscribe and hit that like button. Thank you. Setting sail into the unknown. When Franklin's ships left England, they were the embodiment of British naval power. Both HMS Erebus and HMS Terror had undergone extensive modifications to withstand the harsh Arctic conditions. They were reinforced with iron plates, equipped with steam engines, and boasted provisions for up to 5 years. The crew of 129 men, including Franklin, were confident that they could conquer the Arctic and discover the Northwest Passage, a prize that has eluded explorers for centuries. The prize was the discovery of the Northwest Passage. This elusive sea route, running through the Arctic waters of North America, promised to link the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, dramatically shortening the journey for ships traveling between Europe and Asia. At the time, global maritime trade was dominated by long, perilous voyages around the southern tip of Africa or South America, making the Northwest Passage a highly coveted shortcut. The British government, eager to claim dominance in Arctic exploration, poured considerable resources into the venture, knowing that whoever found the passage would control an essential trade route between Europe and Asia. The expedition was last seen by European whalers in Baffin Bay in July 1845, making its way confidently into Lancaster Sound. After that, the ships, and all 129 men on board, disappeared into the icy wilderness, leaving behind no trace, no messages, and no clues. The search begins. Time passes without any news from Franklin's expedition. Concern began to grow. In 1848, the first search missions were launched, led by Franklin's wife, Lady Jane Franklin, who lobbied the British Admiralty and offered her personal fortune as a reward for anyone who could provide information on her husband's fate. Search after search combed through the icy labyrinth of Canada's northern waters, but all efforts were fruitless. Meanwhile, native Inuit populations shared their stories with European explorers, recounting sightings of gaunt men stumbling through the snow and abandoned ships trapped in the ice. These reports were dismissed as myths or misinterpretations at the time, but in 1859, a breakthrough came with the discovery of a small cairn on King William Island containing an official record left by the doomed crew. The record, dated April 25, 1848, revealed that both ships had been trapped in the ice for over a year, and that Franklin had died on June 11, 1847. After 2 brutal winters, the surviving crew, now led by Captain Francis Crozier, had abandoned the ships and begun a desperate trek southward, hoping to find rescue. None of the men would make it. The cairn note provided only a brief snapshot of the expedition's end, but it raised more questions than it answered. Why had the ships become trapped for so long? How had Franklin, a robust and experienced leader, died so early in the voyage? And what had driven the men to abandon their vessels, equipped with 5 years' worth of provisions, in favor of an almost impossible march across the ice? As more search parties scoured the region in the decades that followed, grisly clues began to surface. Skeletal remains were found scattered across King William Island, some showing signs of malnutrition and frostbite. Others, more disturbingly, showed evidence of cannibalism. It became clear that the men of Franklin's expedition had faced unimaginable suffering in their final months, driven to the brink of madness and survival instincts in one of the world's most unforgivable environments. But the question remained, what had gone so horribly wrong? The lead poisoning theory, one of the most compelling theories to explain the expedition's demise, emerged in the 1980s when scientists exhumed the remarkably well-preserved bodies of 3 crew members buried on Beechey Island. Autopsies revealed high levels of lead in their bones, suggesting that the men had suffered from lead poisoning, a condition that can cause weakness, confusion, seizures, and ultimately death. The source of the lead was thought to be the poorly soldered tin food supplies carried on board the ship. Franklin's expedition had taken 8,000 tins of preserved food, a relatively new technology at the time. It's now believed that the solder used to seal the cans leached lead into the food, slowly poisoning the crew over time. Lead poisoning could explain why the men seemed so ill-prepared for the challenges they faced, despite their careful provisioning. It might also account for Franklin's early death and the strange decision to abandon the relatively safe ships in favor of a dangerous march across the ice. But while the lead poisoning theory is widely accepted, it doesn't account for all the evidence, nor does it fully explain the rapid collapse of such a well-equipped expedition. Something else may have been at play. For over 150 years, the fate of the Erebus and Terror remained one of the great unsolved mysteries of exploration. While search parties found remnants of the crew's journey, the ships themselves were lost to history. That changed in 2014 when the wreck of HMS Erebus was discovered in the icy waters of Queen Maud Gulf, followed 2 years later by the discovery of HMS Terror. Remarkably well preserved, the ships provided a new window into the final days of Franklin's expedition. Artifacts recovered from the wrecks suggested that the crews had not entirely abandoned the vessels, and the pristine conditions of the ships raised new questions about why they had been left behind. The discovery of the wrecks reignited interest in Franklin's lost expedition, and today, underwater archaeologists continue to study the site, hoping to unlock more of the mystery. The enduring mystery. Despite the countless expeditions, scientific analysis, and modern discoveries, the full story of what happened to Franklin and his men remains elusive. The frozen Arctic has preserved many of its secrets, and while we know more than ever about the expedition's final days, many questions remain unanswered. Perhaps this is what continues to draw us to the story of Franklin's lost expedition, the mystery itself. In a world where technology has allowed us to explore nearly every corner of the Earth, the fate of Franklin's men serves as a reminder that nature, in all its unforgiving majesty, still holds power over humankind. The Arctic remains a realm where only the bravest dare to tread, and the mystery of Franklin's last voyage endures as one of the most haunting episodes in the history of exploration. Thank you for being with us for this episode of the Dark History Project. Please help us out by liking this episode, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button below. We're available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everywhere else you can listen to podcasts. We hope you've enjoyed it, and our next episode will come out soon. See you there.